Hi, welcome to another video on my fischertechnik robotics arm pneumatic hand with compressor and robot interface with extension and several gearboxes that I constructed. Last time I changed the robotic wrist, and that was a good solution to do it like this. The only problem that I oversaw and overlooked actually was that if you look at the whole of the arm and hand, and if you go way back in history of this model, then maybe you remember that the arm ended here. Then with addition or replacement of the hand right here, it became quite heavy. The result of this was that I had to extend the arm like this, and for a long time that was good. Now recently I noticed that the lower gearbox, this one, which takes care with this wire to vertically move the arm up and down, that it made a problem with the upper switch and the lower switch. The upper switch was barely reached and the lower switch was pushed out. If those things are really connected, I don't know exactly, but I do know that the problems first occurred, and mainly the upper switch was a problem after I added this motor. And now I do have multiple motors, like this one on the lower gearbox. There are two of them. There are several power motors, one here, one there, and one with the compressor. And these weigh a lot more than this one. So this one added to the hand results in underweight with this arm, or to be correctly said, with this arm. So what to do about it? I can extend it, and considering the very light weight of the elements this arm is constructed with, that could be pretty long. Now if you look at a construction crane for house building, those have a contraweight. So what I want to do is add a contraweight here, which more or less equals, you guess what, this weight. And then I am of course talking about the combination of this weight with this one. And the whole weighs of course more, because there are cables etc. which also have some weight. But in total that is the idea. The only question is, with what should I increase the weight of the arm? And the best thing to do is have something of battery or a stone or whichever is available. So that is what I'm going to try and see if that results in a better functioning of this lower gearbox. And what to put in? Well, I do have some box I can put it in, but I have some, then I should have something to put in it. So let's search for one. Now I think I have found a nice solution, and that solution is an old cooling block with the old CPU still on it, and it is pretty heavy, so I'm sure it will be a nice counterweight. The only thing is that this part of the arm has to be reinforced, so I am going to put several of these links in it. Hoping that that will be enough to have everything steady. So one more here. And let's see if this is sufficient. Then the cooling block, as said, is pretty heavy. So what would be the best way to put it on it? And then perhaps this would be a way. See if this would be enough. Let's just see how that goes. And with the added weight of the cooling block, this is the result. Which is not exactly what was intended, because this was intended. And this means that this weight has to move up here. And that will be an empirical, so experimental thing, which is the right place to locate it. Probably somewhere in the middle. But this is somehow, somewhat beyond expectation. So let's find a better place. With the weight located in the middle of the arm, it looks quite alright. Let's test it. It is still unbalanced, because now the weight is drawn upwards and it should be somewhere in between, so it has to be moved a little bit here. And that also means that it's going to be to interfere with this wire from the gearbox. So how is this going to end up? I may do it like this, because there's now weight here, and it may not even need to be exactly balanced, because it needs to be pulled down and then automatically go up again. So maybe this one is better, and when you look at the lower gearbox, then it might be even so that now everything is working properly. And the only way to find out is to actually do it. So let's do it. And I have to start the software for that. So, pressing enter. Okay, that is one. Now my attention has to be with the lower gearbox, and that isn't doing anything right now. The upper gearbox is doing things, the lower, and I'm talking about the pivot is doing things, but there's no movement from the lower gearbox. So how will that go? And then once again I noticed that the lower gear switch is, the lower switch of the gearbox is pushed out. So I am pressing it manually, and now it reaches the upper sensor, and I manually operate the lower sensor. And now it has no problem whatsoever reaching the upper sensor. So that problem is solved. However, this problem is not solved at all. The lower pivot has a problem, but let's stop the software. At least this problem is solved, although physically not quite, because it has been pushed out of its socket. So I still have to find a solution for that. Other than that, I noticed that here there is a problem, so I have to keep my eye on this one. Alright, what's next? Oh, sure, fixing this problem. Let's find the solution. The solution for this switch is remarkably simple. I am adding this block. I take out this part where this is switched in. So far this was switched in like this, but this one is switched in like this. So this will be the new situation. and then shift it into the same location with some care. Which brings the lower and the upper switch almost below each other, which should work. So let's see if it does work. Starting the software again. Now the lower pivot isn't working correctly still. But as I can see it, it needs some more. Here is a problem. But this part is functioning really well now. And I should really take care of this one. So now, taking a look at the arm, and that is a problem. I have to take the camera backwards so it doesn't get stuck on the table edge. And let's take a look here. This is also a problem. That is going easy. It gets jammed under here as well, not even here. So far so good. And this one is doing excellent job. So focus now here. You hear the rattling of the gear against the motor. But is this going okay without manual interfering? No, it's not quite. Alright. But back to the arm. Now it is functioning quite well. And that was the first thing. Now it won't get pushed out. But this really needs my attention. The lower pivot. This side goes well. This side is really having a problem. So back to that one. With the focus now on this pivot switch, there is one thing that becomes clear, which is that this construction is too close to the top of the switch. So what I have to do is shift it up a bit, and since this is not connected only via this link, it can go up and down. So with that knowledge, I should do it like this and then hope it will be sufficient. Now in any way it won't be get stuck here, which it did previously, so that should be enough. But I have to test it, of course. Another problem is this motor, because remarkable enough, in that direction there seems to be no problem, but in that direction there is. And what doesn't help is that this motor is kind of semi-fixed. And in another model, my old walking model, Mirft, I had a similar issue and solved that with a pin which was fixed somewhere down there. But I can't do that in this location, at least not yet. Maybe I can find a solution for that. But so far, let me see if this is alright. Another point that I noticed is the wiring here. Well, not exactly the wiring, but more precise, this tube. This tube is unfortunately a bit short, and it goes way to the compressor, not to the compressor, but to this valve. And because it is rather short, there's a tendency for it to get stuck, but it is, I think, just long enough. Anyway, with all that said, I think this correction is quite enough. So let me just test it and see how it goes. So starting the program again. See, and here you see how the motor gets stuck. Then it goes. It reverses direction. And here it has problems, so if I hold the motor, it will work. But it forces the motor like this and it forces the motor like that. So if I hold the motor steady, there should not be any problem at all. And unfortunately there is. So I really need to think about a solution for this. And with that I'm almost at the end of the problems, because yeah, right, you need some help here. Another thing that I've just noticed is that the pivot, the motor is, the pivot of the wrist is not working at all. So the question is, how is that even possible? So for the last part of this video, let's pay some attention to that. So for this final part of this video, focus is on the wrist, and I have noticed it is not working. The only way to find this out is by without using the rest of the whole arm, etc., the FT diagnostics. So let's activate that one. I open the interface, select the slave. There is one input selected. Most likely that is the lower gearbox. But now I have to find out which wire to use. That is this one. Goes straight to the third motor of the slave. So let's run it. And I see that it is electrically more than fine. So that is clearly not the problem. Then what is? That is a good question. It's not in the software anymore. Since the switch is operated by the motor, and it is a bipolar switch. So then what could be the cause? Really good question. Shortage of power is a possibility, although not very likely, because then a lot more should have failed. There are a couple of motors going, and if I look downwards to the wires, then this wire is coming from the extension, and this one obviously worked well. And if you take a look at the interface extension, it becomes clear that this is the control to the wrist bipolar switch, and this is going to the arm bipolar switch. So that should not cause any problem whatsoever. Anyway, this should not be any problem whatsoever, as I said, and I don't know why it is working, but next time I'll pay more attention to it. And with that, I should conclude my video. Thank you for watching. Some interesting things, like adding an extra weight to the arm to make the lower gearbox work again. Also reconstructing the lower switch of the gearbox so it cannot be pushed out anymore. Then a slight problem solved, hopefully, with the bipolar switch of the arm, and still to be dealt with is the construction of this motor. So thank you for watching. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel if you don't want that. I am also on Twitter and on Instagram. Please visit my website also for if you like to donate to keep this blog and videos alive and coming. And for sure this is to be continued. Bye bye.